So in this episode, I'm here live with Hero of Ages. Hero of Ages got to the semifinals level in the last challenge Little War Game $20 Cup tournament back in April of 2020. He was also on Team OPCata for the Little War Game Season 1 Team League, and he's predominantly a Beast player, although he also has plenty of experience in Rax play. Hero, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you, Itano.
Oh yeah, I looked you up, man. I'm here to big you up because people are gonna ask, who is Hero of Ages? I don't know this Hero of Ages guy. You should. Like the only person he lost to in that semifinals was Daz Dragon Archer Z, who was like an absolute monster and went on to win the entire tournament. Like this guy is not a joke. He's very very strong. So Hero, let's get into it. As I kind of introduced you, my familiarity with you comes from you playing Beast, and then you switched over a little bit into Rax. And the general topic that we're going to go over is, we have now thankfully reached the point where version 4.3 is in the game. It doesn't seem like it's going to be rolled back, and one of the most essential components of that change is that the ranked gameplay, the balance of version AA4, has now been added to the base game. So what you have to say about matchups in general will now become extremely relevant for a huge number of people. And so with that, the first question I want to hit you with is this. You play Beast? Is Beast just the best race or the best race for you? What got you into it?
For me, Beast, well, I started out watching, I started out playing StarCraft, like,
Okay.
well, actually, maybe it wasn't even that, like, I think I've just always found, like, the Swarm kind of race kind of to be pretty cool. I mean, I think, yeah, I just always thought, like, the idea of that was just, like, really something that I wanted to that I want to try and play like that. Um, I mean that's not like the only thing that I want to play, but like I think yeah that's what got me into playing Beast specifically, and yeah I've not been disappointed by it. Uh, yeah,
So the reason I
I
open
played.
no, go on.
I don't know. Well, okay. Well, I was just gonna say that I played Zerg in StarCraft 2. I don't play anymore, but yeah, I think yeah that probably also fit into it a little.
Okay. So one of the things that I personally disliked playing against Beast, but obviously now that I have just played a lot more and seen a lot more of the game, I can appreciate it more, is that if you are playing against someone who has the numerically advantaged race or the swarmy race in a real-time strategy game, it can feel absolutely hopeless. They just have units just pouring out of every conceivable part of the map. They're scouting for information all of the time. I guess and is that part of what the feeling of power or enjoyment was, or is there something specific about little war games, kind of swarmy units that you like?
Yeah, yeah, I feel like the main thing the main thing was like just swarming all over the enemy army and crushing it with like sheer numbers. Um, about units, Little War Game units specifically. I mean, not really. Well, I don't know. I just have like I feel like I have a natural tendency to like go for stuff not that's not like the complete like basic vanilla like well okay I don't want to call rats basic and vanilla but
Okay.
like it like they're the base like okay I feel like they're like the base well I mean okay they're the base units they're but when like they're like the units that like I feel like they're probably the first units like JBS coded into the game because like like just a standard like soldier and archer and yeah. But I feel like I always wanted something different, I guess, than other people. Well, that didn't really work out for me since a lot of people play Beast, but um yeah, I mean I feel like it's the sense that it's a sense of this is not boring. Or okay, I don't want to call Rax boring because it's not. I can play Rax and not feel bored. But
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's um like it's it's more unique.
So it lets you express yourself a bit more.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So with that, if you play Beast, and the way that I would maybe recontextualize a bit of what you said there is that it most people that I know, they do start off playing racks, if only because they're not, again, this is not to say that they're without their own threats or tricks, but they're very safe. They have a good number of hit points. They do decent damage. They're very sturdy. They're reliable. And that must mean, however, that you play a ton of Beast versus Racks. So let's just get into that. What do you think of Beast versus Racks? Like, you can take it any way you want. Generally, the opening, tech, anywhere you want to go. This is your floor.
Beast versus Raps. All right. Okay. So I guess I'll start from the beginning, like chronologically, or like in the game.
Yeah.
So basically, oh, the early game. Okay. So I feel like the early game, I just really have a strong dislike of Raider versus of Wolf against Raider. Like I just feel like okay, I just feel like you can just I feel like as Vax opening like heavy Raider can be just really strong, and I feel like there isn't much of a way for Beast to kind of punish that with just wolves. Maybe you could, or like especially in like the very early game where like okay, for example, like two Vax Raider. Okay, that's not what I'm really talking about here, but it's kind of the extreme of like it's kind of the extreme of like you go to like the opponent goes two backs, and then you're sitting there with like your FE two den, and like 9 times out of 10 you're probably gonna die. But then if you switch it around, if you go like two racks versus like not even one rack to spam, like or sorry, not two racks, two den, like two den versus like FE like I don't know two racks or FE racks whatever. Like you definitely have a decent chance to survive um as racks just because like raiders are just really good units against wolves, and I think I think it's like I feel like there's a bit of an inequality there,
Okay.
uh, and I mean yeah okay
Because Raiders can kind
so
of dictate the pace of the interaction, right? Like, only one of those, between a Raider and a Wolf, only one of them has a teleport spell.
yeah yeah okay um so moving on to more of the mid game. Okay, so most of my okay, so probably the main like Rax player I play against, at least recently, is Norm. Um, so Norm tends to go for this. Wait, okay. So I feel like okay, I feel like here's where it's like okay, I feel like I want to talk. You know, I want to talk about like the meta. Okay, so
Okay,
basically,
yeah, go for it. Like I said, there's plenty of people who they never played AA4, or if they did, it was this thing in ranked that maybe they played once or twice, but they're now firmly enmeshed in it, right? But barring something terrible happening with version 4.3, guess what? You're all in ranked now. Like you are trapped in here with us, as it were. So go on. Like, this will be extremely relevant.
okay, so basically, okay, so like um, so I feel like since like I feel like the basically the only player I've been playing is Norm. I mean, okay, so Norm has changed. Norm used to go for this style with like soldier drops and like biz toxic like stuff, but now he doesn't. Now he's like more mellow, and I feel like that changes the meta because he's literally like the only person that I play against that's back with any consistency. So I mean, for me that changes the meta. So
Okay.
and
What is it?
I
What do
feel
the games look like for you once you get past this Raider versus Wolf interaction, where you said there's kind of an inequality in who can end the game? Like how does the matchup play out now in your experience?
Right. Okay. So basically, from here on out, Norm, or maybe let's say the Rash player. The Rash player goes for like this turtle thing, and he just like stays on his like bases, and I try to like attack him. I try to do damage because I know that there's a giant push coming, and if I don't do damage, then I will. Well, actually, no, I don't know that. There's probably not a giant push coming. If I'm being honest. Um, yeah, basically, um, but I try to harass him, and I try not to lose units. Because here's the thing, right? For if you're beast, um, your units are like you have to invest a solid amount of units into harass. Like I guess I can compare it to like Terran Bio, where like your units are your harassing units are the same as your like not are the same as your army. So like um because so like Um, okay, so let's say you run like 8 wolves into the other guy's main, and then he just kills all of them, and that's a perfectly plausible situation that could happen. So in that case, you've lost 8 army units, and that's really bad because if you lose enough of them, then he can just push across the map and win. However, if you do not if you do not go into his base at all, if you just like let him macro up, then I feel like you're facing a different sort of problem where you just let him macro up, and you're stuck with wolf snake, which is like kind of weak. Um, and like okay, like if you're just if you're not training them out, then that's bad, and if you're training them out inefficiently, then that's also bad. So
Oh,
in my opinion, um, if if you let him get to a big ball of units, and you're still in wolf snake, even like wolf snake dragon, maybe then well, even Wolf Snake Dragon, and you've let him get out with relatively no trouble, comparative to the trouble that you went to, then I think he can probably just push across the map and win. Like I feel like werewolves are a very important part of the matchup because it allows Beast to get an army that can win.
okay. So the way that you would probably to kind of hone in on this section because I sensed that you were going to keep going, which we will get to, trust me. But I am quite interested in this section. So uh, at this point, your understanding is if the Rax player's win condition is don't lose too many units, don't absolutely lose the game, and eventually you will have enough, maybe not for a Doom push, but for an army that's so big that the Beast player must respect it. And you feel that's a clock. Like, okay, if you throw all of your army away, as you said, and you don't do crippling damage, they'll just walk across the map and kill you because you need the threat on their side. But if you never throw away any units on their side, if you never apply pressure in a way that could endanger yourself, then all of a sudden, for anyone who hasn't experienced it, Beast gets to 150 supply or can get to 150 supply faster. Well, if you get to 150 supply faster and the Rax is sitting at 120 or 130 and you're still on Wolf Snake, yeah, good luck with that. So that's interesting. So you think it's the other way around? You think that Beast is actually on a timer until when? The middle of the game, or does it just keep going? How would you say that?
Well, okay, so let's keep assuming that the Brax player is named Norm. So actually, in Norm's case, it the timer is generally, in my experience, never going to end until he gets the middle bases.
Okay. Think of Ravaged, right, as a fantastic map for this kind of discussion, because obviously holding the center base is extremely relevant for Rax in that matchup, because it just gives you so much map control and vision.
Oh yeah. That's what I meant. Yeah. So, um, yeah. Okay. I have many memories of like very long macro games where he just doesn't attack, and he just has he just doesn't do a push, and he just has like and then we just like have middle bases, and then we just like spam towers everywhere, and like
Okay.
and, and it's it's like, and then it's just like this long back and forth drawn out thing. Yeah, but then okay, so but there's definitely other ways of playing Rax, and I would like to see like more diversity in Rax play because there's a lot of potential there, right? Like take like Guinness, right? So like I mean, plays Guinness I think plays like Norm did a while ago, where he utilizes like the oh actually wait no maybe he doesn't like play Rax. Oh okay, but the way I remember that Guinness played Rax was using soldier drops and Viz, like and then pushes, right? Like you can definitely play an active style of Rax, and that is perfectly viable in my opinion. Because I mean, Rax has a lot of like, I think Rax units do have a lot of utility,
Okay.
and if you're playing that, like personally, that's the style that I have most trouble against. But yeah, so like if you're playing that, if you're playing against that, then it will be different because there'll be a threat of him pushing, like a real threat of him pushing. Um, and it's more him harassing you, but at the same time you also want to harass him, but but the Rax player, but the Rax player will have the capacity to do more damage, in my opinion. Um, because like look, soldiers, right? Like okay, you have 5 soldiers drop compared to 10 wolves. Who's gonna do more damage? I mean,
Oh
j-
yeah,
j-
I like you just talked about the effective hit points for their supply also. Like if you have 10 wolves or 5 soldiers, yeah, one of those only costs 10 army supply and the other one costs 20, which doesn't sound like a big deal until you're sitting at 100, 130. Then all of a sudden, what percentage of your army you're peeling away really matters, right? Those 10 wolves, obviously, a couple soldiers are clean that up. If 5 soldiers with upgrades get cuddly on a base that doesn't have a tower, or even on a base that does have a tower but you don't notice, yeah, that tower is gone. You're pulling workers. It's gonna take some time to kill those units. Like, do you think that the so how would you put it this way? Because you just mentioned Rax has a couple of ways they can play, right? There's this Guinness style where there's a more flexible and proactive approach that makes use of the utility of the race. And then there's also this Norm style where you almost kind of play like a Mech Rax, where you just kind of sit and wait and you don't commit to killing, you just commit to not dying. Do you feel like Beast has these multiple modes that it can play?
well, kind of, kind of. Okay, so for Beast, it's like um, you definitely actually yeah, I'd say yes actually. So I mean, there's a lot of variety with Beast. I mean, you can play. I mean, you can go heavy on any type of unit. I think like Wolf Snake, it's well, it is kind of risky. Like I think in some sense of the word it is viable, um, but only up to a certain point in the game. So if you want to go like Blood Beast, I think is what they call it. Like you just go ham on upgrades and
Oh, so you just have like a million wolves and snakes, and you never upgrade your tech tree, but you have a bunch of upgrades. Because for those who are new to AA4 or new to what 4.3 balance will be, snakes have some of the highest DPS in the game. They have the same DPS as an archer, but they attack at double the speed of an archer. So plus upgrades on attack for snakes are really really good. Is that kind of the version you're talking about with this flood style?
yeah, and yeah, it feels really good to win with that style because you just
Okay.
always all over them, and like they're all, like you can just watch. You can just go to each of their bases and watch them burn down one at a time, and yeah, okay, it's just nice. But I think that's less standard. It's a little yeah, okay, it's less standard, a little more cheesy. Um, but yeah, um, there's also like rush dragons. Okay, so for dragons are fun because you can either like do a lot of economic damage with them, or you can do this thing where like you just like get three you just get 3 layers in your main and pool like 100 and pull like hundreds of live dragons, and then rush across the map, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Um,
because for anyone who hasn't experienced that, they don't have any ballista, right? So if you have somehow convinced them that you're doing wolf snake or that you're mass expanding or something like that, you just show up with 10 dragons. That's the end of the game. They're done. Like there's nothing left.
yeah, I know. But like,
Archers are not beating dragons. Like dragons are faster. They can regenerate. They have way more hit points. Like it's not a good sight. It doesn't look good.
yeah. The problem with that definitely is like if they, I mean, that's also kind of a cheese. I think.
Okay.
Like if they scout it, like they just get like double. It's for like double advanced workshop. Just throw them down, and if they get up to like a decent amount of ballista, then I think that it just fails. Um, and then actually, yeah, okay. So then there's that. Well, does it just fail? I don't know, because I feel like you can probably macro out of it somehow. But you'll definitely be at a disadvantage. So I guess So I think the most standard way of playing is you go up to like so you have like your wolf snake on like 3 base, right? Or maybe
Okay.
yeah, and then so you're like harassing kind of, and you want to tech up to either werewolves or dragons. I think probably dragons. Well, yeah, I think if you I think if you want to get your army faster, you probably would want werewolves. But well, hmm,
The
the
point is
dragon.
that you can go into dragons or werewolves from that point, right? Like that's the first decision you get to make on this game plan. It's like you've got your wolf snake, and then you probably go to the werewolves or dragons. Where do you take it from there?
Yeah, so from there, well, you have to decide if you want to get your fourth. I mean, actually, yeah. So if you want to get your fourth early, that means you're gonna macro, and you're gonna like you're gonna try to get an economic lead so that you can get you can just get a lead. And the other way you can try to get a lead is staying on 3 base and trying to kill him with harassment, or just like all-inning him. Um, and as beast, I think you usually want to do like multi-prong harassment, which is really annoying for Rax, because their years are pretty slow. So um, yeah, I mean, I think from there you kind of want to pick them apart. If they move out, you definitely want to be counterattacking, um, or well, or you could try to defend, but you might not have as much success with that.
Okay.
Um,
The point is that's the
yeah,
scary moment, right? Like all of it leads into this moment when the Rax player they've either ideally they take enough damage that they never move out, or when they do, it's way too late. Or when you get to this moment that they're moving out, you have the option to either force them to stay home or actually try and take the fight, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Um,
one of the things that I've noticed for Rax versus Beast, and maybe I've been watching too many games of Norm, although I do watch other people's. That's right, people who are listening. I do occasionally log in as a guest, sit silently as a spectator, and watch games. Yeah, I do that. You're not prepared. So sometimes when I'm watching these games between people, the point that seems rough for the Beast player in the matchup, and I don't play this side of the matchup, so I don't know, is that it seems like the Rax player has so many tech avenues. Like, yeah, they have raiders early on into soldier archer, and then maybe they have priests in the middle of the game, but then they have mages and they can do catapults, and then they have airships, so they can go for drops of all kinds of variety, and priests can get invisibility, and you just end up with this very versatile, tech-heavy, like very micromanagement-oriented, like not even a ball, because that implies that you can just walk and kill with it. It's just so versatile. It can do so many things. It has so much potential to be a lot of things. And I don't know what the Beast player does to offset that versatility, or if they're advantaged despite the versatility. Like, what happens towards the end of the game?
Well, usually I find that I feel like usually I find that you can't really go wrong with werewolf dragon. I mean, okay, so as for versatility, if you go werewolf dragon, they will have to counter you.
Okay. All right. So it flips the script then. Like, it goes the other way.
Well, not exactly because you're not being you're not well you are versatile as beast, but not in the way that that your army can do a lot of things. It's that this you can create this army for a specific purpose, and if it succeeds, then that's great. If it doesn't succeed and they counter it, then hopefully you haven't been destroyed enough to where you can build enough. You can build up another army, and if you build up another army, then that army can be different and it can be nicer and more catered toward that specific. Actually, no. You know what? That doesn't really work against in Beast versus Vax because for Beast versus Vax, I think I think Mass Mage is not the answer.
Okay.
I think okay, so I think you can say like the stuff about like text constant text switches about like other matchups, but not really Beast versus Vax because in the end I feel like at least for me and Norm and our games tend to end up with, or at least like the long macro ones, tend to end up as like soldier archer balls versus werewolf dragon, and that I think hmm, I feel like werewolf dragon in that scenario is favored because I mean, of course, there's like micro tricks, there's like a lot of ways you can turn the tide. Like if you have invisible soldier and snipe their detection, snipe beast detection, then that could be good. But overall, those are just parts of engagement, that that like the end game engagements for Werewolf Dragon are very strong. I think.
Okay.
Um,
Because for anyone who hasn't experienced this, normally Beast has more bases than the Rax player, right? Is that fair to say that that their units build faster, but they're not as efficient, so you need more of them. Like, you want more bases, more economy.
yeah,
And just the way the mining rate works as well is that you will get your base a little bit in advance of whatever the Rax player gets. But it sounds like at the end of the game, it flips where, okay, hopefully no one has died. Like, hopefully you haven't died, and you have stopped whatever the large Rax army push was. If there was in fact this push or this formless movement that they did throughout the map, and then congratulations, your reward now is you get to go into a very tech-heavy, very efficient army. Do you feel that's enough of a game plan? Do you have any problems with the way that Beast versus Rax, once it gets past the Raider stage, do you think that there's anything wrong with that, or are there any things that you dislike about it?
I think the mid games. I think the mid game. Well, hmm,
It
I
doesn't have to be fully formed.
think
Like, what were you saying about the mid game?
well, I was gonna say the mid game sucks, but that's not true.
Okay, no, come on, come out with it.
Okay, so like as you were saying earlier, like the versatility of what Rax can do it's just really bothersome to me. Like like you can always surprise beasts. I feel like like it does feel like at any moment you could have like a bunch of like soldiers just spawning in your main and like or like random invisibility, or he could be, and then when you try to like attack back, like what are you even gonna do with your like shrimpy little like wolves and like the snakes that have literally the lowest health in the game?
Yeah,
Like I don't
yeah,
know.
they do. They are like slithering paperweights. So I'm gonna, in case anyone is watching this and thinking, Hero of Ages should just learn not to deal with that badly. It's. I think the point you're getting to, Hero, is that it's not that any one of these things are overpowered. It's that it feels like the Rax player can just push a button and decide to do any number of things. And in the middle of the game, you're just kind of at the mercy of which option and how well they do it, right? Like, do you think it's overpowered, or do you just think it's very frustrating to try and navigate?
Well, okay, I feel like it's hard to tell what's exactly overpowered from like such a small subset of like players I play.
That's
Like
entirely reasonable. Yeah.
it's really just one. But um, it's frustrating. It is really frustrating. Um, yeah, I feel like just at any moment, like my Rax opponent could just pull anything out of his hat. Like
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
Oh,
I
look.
have
Oh,
no.
what's in this pocket? Oh, it's 5 soldiers in your main with inertia. Oh, what about this pocket? Oh, well, it looks like 4 invisible soldiers in your main. What about this one? I just decided to make a bunch of raiders. Why would you do that? Oh, because I can shroud all of your snakes, and then I only have to engage you with melee units. Like, oh, wonderful. Oh, look. Oh, what's in this? It's a catapult with drops. Like, it's kind of like that, right? Is that the source of the frustration?
Yes, yeah. So, but for all of that, I do have no gripes with the end game. Like, it's actually like I feel like the end game is not actually that beast favored. Like, it's not like you just survive to the end of the game and you get your giant immortal super army and then you go crush him.
Yeah, you don't
It,
have you don't have 5 dragons, 5 werewolves, and then they all become 50 feet tall and one shot everything, right? Like you still have to win the game, but you think it flips that they actually get to a state of advantage just because of how strong the units are.
um,
You have to
it's
survive to that point, obviously.
yeah. I think let's say like I think if you're equal going to the end game, I think sure you're advantage. Yeah. Um, but I mean, of course, the problem is getting to an equal position in the end game. But um, yeah, definitely werewolf dragon greater than whatever Rax greater than whatever Rax can have. Actually, yes. Okay, I believe that to be true,
Okay.
but I have definitely seen um something. I have definitely seen exceptions to this. Like I remember there's one time it was me against like DC, and we were just and we were playing this long macro game, and then I think I must have like my one werewolf dragon army must have died like I don't know 5 6 times to his soldier archer priest before I finally had like invisible dragons.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I feel like there's you can definitely kill werewolf dragon if you. I think an archer ball is good against that.
Okay.
Um,
So you would say
and
that like you
also
no go on. Yeah.
soldiers too, kind of. But mages, not really. Well, yeah, I think, hmm, yeah, I think like just like the standard like mid game uh army that Brax has does scale well into the end game.
Okay. Do you think the size of that? Before we get off of the topic of Beast versus Rex, what effect do you think the size of the map has? And what I mean is, that might sound like an obvious question. Well, obviously, the bigger the map, the better it is for Beast. But we have some short maps and some large maps in the pool. Do you think any? Is it as simple as that? Is it big map good for Beast?
Um, hmm, well, I think wide open spaces are good for Beast.
So like
And
Sylvan Charm, right? With that giant center that you can just play Ring Around the Rosie in. It probably is pretty good for Beast, right?
yes, yes. Yeah, I do feel like the bigger the map, the better it is for Beast. I mean, I think that's true. Well, I mean, okay, the bigger the map, the bigger the map, the worse the push. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, so that doesn't mean the worse it is. Well, it does mean the worse it is for Beast because it means that there's less there's less ability to go for like early pushes and stuff like that. Um, and definitely, I do think having like really fast units on the map is nice, but I mean, I feel like the advantage you get from having a large map as Beast isn't like huge. Like it's not that great.
It's
Because
more like
even
it
if
gives
like
and takes away, right? Like it gives to you in that the push doesn't come as quickly. They have more map they have to travel, and your units are faster, so they cover more ground more quickly. But it also takes away because you mentioned you kind of want to do damage and delay the push, and that's really hard to do if they're on the other side of the map. You know that of a large map, especially.
yeah, so let's say like you're harassing with like your whole army, right? Like I mean like a lot of the time you might do this where like you go and like do multiple pawns and then but then like let's say like five soldiers are securing your main. Like what do you do there? Like I mean
Hold the
I
workers
mean
and pray, not necessarily in that order. No, you make a good point though. You can't just run back immediately to wherever. You can't go from the front line to the back door. You know.
yeah.
Uh, so okay, interesting. So do you have any final thoughts on Beast versus Rax? Like anything that you want to get onto, or you want to just go on to? I know Beast versus Mech was quite the topic last time.
Um do I have any more thoughts? Well, as they are, I feel like mages don't do that much in this matchup. Um
Oh, that's spicy. Come on. I know people who go the other way. They will swear up and down to slow field and be like, praise be to slow field. Long may our rage work.
wait, okay, actually okay. Actually yeah, Slowfield, you know what? Slowfield could be good.
Oh,
Um
but so you're saying Fireball is the thing that is overrated.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if it's overrated anymore, but definitely, I feel like Mass Mage is not viable.
Okay.
Uh,
All right. You do realize, of course, that now we're just going to get nothing but mass mage games and every time we play Beast. Fair enough. Okay, so moving on then with Beast versus Mech, I'd say normally a Rax guy, had his perspective on it, but you actually you play a lot more Beast, I would suspect, than Norm as the Rax guest does in the matchup. Is it as bad as he says it is? Like I've heard everything from this is unwinnable to Mech has it worse. Like, what do you think?
okay, I think I have a lot of trouble in Beast versus Mech. Yeah, like I feel like compared to I feel like Beast versus Mech is a lot harder than Rack versus Mech. Like
Okay.
okay, um like the thing about Beast versus Mech is that it's it's very hard to kill their late game army. And well, you might say, hey, well, what about Rax versus Mech? Well, you know what? You know what Rax has? Rax has like mass mages, but you can do mass mages. You can like drop soldiers on his army. You can do whatever, and it'll all kill Mech, and it'll be really sad. Um, let's say, but then okay, but take like take like Beast versus Mech. Like, let's say you have like your average like your average Joe Rynus, and then he goes and he builds up his like Rynus ball, and then he goes across the map,
Okay.
and then
For anyone who doesn't know, Rynus is like one of the Mech's strongest advocates, and I think that's the only matchup he plays. Like, if not only, he's like 95% of his games are Mech. So, okay, the Rynus ball, right? Just a doom ball of catapults with a bunch of workers, right?
yeah, okay. So what do you do against that? Well, you can go for Mass Wolf, and oh, that sucks. Like Mass Wolf is actually it's just really terrible against catapult. Like if you watch like any of like the DC versus Rynus games, like like DC, he DC is just objectively a better player than me, and
DC is Destroy Call for anyone who's unfamiliar with the name. But yeah, okay, so DC versus Rynus.
versus Rynus, and like every time the match goes like this, so or actually every time it ends like this, so the match ends with like Rynus coming across with his giant ball of catapults, and then like DC has his like um his like wolves, and he goes and tries to micro the wolves as best as he can to like avoid all the cata shots as he like gets his nice surround or like drops wolves on like the catapults or whatever, and then and you know what, it doesn't do a thing like like the catapults are catapults, so they go and kill like these like they just kill them with swats like
Yeah,
every
because
volley is
the
just
rocks are AoE,
amazing.
right? It's not like they're single target. It's just like, oh, rock falls, multiple wolves die.
Yeah. So I and honestly, okay, I don't want to put okay, I don't want to put like I don't want to have that as like the only proof that Mech is like that Mech versus Beast is like super good for Mech, because there's definitely counter examples of this. I mean, I know like Glava says that like Beast is heavily favored, and like actually I know a lot of like the top players said that, and also about DC, I feel like his weakest matchup is certainly, and like nothing comes close to it for DC. And I think his weakest matchup is definitely Beast versus Mech. Um, but yeah, I think everything else he has is like super OP. But um, yeah, so that's not like great proof. But like still like what are you even gonna do against some Rynus ball as Mech or as Beast? Like I think I've seen I okay, but and I'm sure there's a way to beat it. Okay, I'm sure there's a way to beat it, but I like I've seen Slimer go for like werewolf shots against it, and it seemed to have some effect. Um, but still, it's like, come on, I don't know.
I guess the way you're saying it
Like,
is, other people have won this matchup, but it kind of feels gross the things you have to do, and it looks like you're barely getting enough to actually win out of it. Or am I not representing that correctly?
no, yeah, it's pretty much on point with what I'm saying. And okay, so 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 let's say that you cannot kill the Rynus ball. So what do you do instead? You go and Beast is a very harassy race, right?
Yeah, they're
So
very fast, much faster than the mech units.
yeah,
Is
so you
is the
go
theory on the ground? Yes, we're not talking about airships. Like, no one's saying that a wolf is going to lose a foot race to an airship, but
yeah, so you go and you harass them, right? But like, what are your options for harassment? Like you have wolf snake. So you can like try to harass them with wolf snake, but then but I mean that could like honestly like pretty easily defend that. Like especially compared to what Rax can do. Like beast harassment against Mech. I feel like is not super strong. Okay, well, that's when I'm playing Beast, not when I'm playing Mech. But um, okay, but it's like Wolf Snake, um, like a like if you just have like I don't know up to like 16 like Wolf Snake, and then you go and you try to like kill one Mech base with like two towers and a catapult, I think you'll probably fail. Like you probably
Damn.
will
So you
not be
wouldn't
able
even
to.
you wouldn't say like, oh, you'd win, but you'd lose half of it, and it would be almost impossible to bring the army back. You just think like, no, it's not happening. Like if they Sim City and if they pull things appropriately and the catapult's in a good spot, like it's not happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think yeah, because I mean there's no way you're cracking that. Honestly, like
I guess the answer that people are ringing out of the top of their lungs is, why wouldn't you just use dragons? I hate to break it to those people, the Ballista does exist. That is in fact a mech unit.
yeah. Okay, so the Ballista is so strong that people use it in every matchup against dragons. And now think of what happens when you have that and you add like you add mech upgrades to it. And then
Okay. Nerf Ballista is what I'm hearing out of this, okay?
well actually
No, no, I was joking there, but do you think that is something that, yeah? Do you think the Ballista is too strong for the matchup? Like, should it be nerfed? What do you think?
you know what? Well
I
I
just came
think
up with it, so if you don't know the answer, like I definitely don't. So you can stew
okay.
on it if you'd like.
I think dragons okay, dragons are still well hmm.
Because
Ugh.
the counterpoint to dragons also, and I'm not saying that they're a hard counter, but there's also new to version 4.3 or the AA4 ranked gameplay now being ported in are gyrocraft. And Hero, not a lot of people know about gyrocraft, but these things are flying, fast, and mechanical. And they don't have as much range, and they don't do AoE, unlike dragons. But something about being able to be infinitely repaired is pretty good for a flying unit. Also, like I think 6 of them can two-shot a worker, if I've got the stats correct, unless they've been changed. That's not a small deal. My point is, it doesn't even seem like Mech needs the Ballista. It's just another tool that they have.
Oh no, mech definitely needs a ballista.
Okay, all right.
I mean, realistically, if you have like a bunch of dragons and then a bunch of gyros, the dragons well, I do feel like dragons are just too strong to go. Okay, they will not. Dragons will trade efficiently against gyros. Um, and then if mech did not have gyros, like it would just be mass dragon every game, and then it would be terrible for mech.
There'd be
I
chaos
mean,
in the streets, right? Okay.
yeah, like the ballista is certainly a necessary unit, and it it always is a necessary unit against dragons. Um, so I I don't think ballista needs a nerf. Um, I mean, well, okay, I don't think ballista needs a nerf except in that matchup.
Okay. All right.
I,
So you think it goes too like it's good that they exist, but at the same time, like maybe it shuts down dragons too hard.
I think it shuts out. I think it does shut down dragons too hard in. Wait, well, yeah, I think it shuts down dragons too hard in Beast versus Mech. Um, I think. Well, okay,
Because they get
yeah,
upgrades, right? Is your point? Is that it would be one thing if they were just ballista, but they're not. They're like plus attack and armor ballista.
yeah, and then yeah, okay.
Also repair,
So there's
right? Like
yeah, repair.
No way. There's no video that's gonna show your face for this, but everyone who heard that just saw like a shadow get cast across your entire body. Like the sun went back behind the clouds, and the cold wind came in. It just rustled up around everyone. It just froze your face into sadness. So, is repair that bad in this matchup? Like, is that one of the problems?
Okay, you know what? Honestly, it's not even like repair. Okay, I get that you might have like unkillable units, and that's not even okay. That's kind of bad, but like it's not. It's not. No, you know what? It is bad. Okay.
There we go. All right.
Okay.
He's just working himself up to saying it's garbage. Okay. Come on, say it out loud. Let's get to it.
You go, and then you have like your Ballista and your mineral line against like 25 dragons, and now, okay, maybe not 25. Maybe like okay, but
let's say 6, right? For a cost investment sake, like 6 is a pretty big number. You would think that that would win, right?
Wait, no, not even 6. Like 10, 12. And that's
oh, jeez. Okay.
The castle. And so you have, okay, you have like your 12 dragons, and then you have your 1 Ballista, and okay, and the Ballista the Ballista I think. Okay, actually, yeah, maybe that is a little much, but still, like, okay, maybe even like 8 dragons, like, wait, maybe that, no, okay, I think 8 dragons versus a Ballista and a mineral line plus a tower. Wait, no, not plus a tower, but versus a Ballista and a mineral line will not be able to will either take severe losses or not be able to do significant damage.
Yeah, I don't think the specifics of it matter too much. Like, if anyone's watching this, like, I went to the editor, and it turns out that the correct answer is that if there is a tower, that 7 dragons can't do it, but 8 can't. Like, I think the general idea is just think about how much time and effort and money and resources, let's just say 6 dragons cost. And then there's just this repairing Ballista. It's like, well, okay, I guess I have to go away now.
Yeah. So I feel like the answer that I find, the answer that I see for Beast in this matchup is like you get Rax units.
Okay. Okay. So the solution to Beast versus Mech, that's going in the title, of course, right? The solution to Beast versus Mech is to play Rax. Okay, no, come on, that's spicy. You've got to explain that. Come on, you've got to explain that.
Okay. So everyone knows, maybe not everyone, but okay, I think it's generally accepted that Catapult beat Mech. And no, not Cat. Wait, no, what am I saying? Okay, mages beat the Mech Death Ball, and that is a proven fact. And look, and you can have mages, right? Or you can have like soldier drops, and soldier drops are great. Well, actually, you probably wouldn't want soldier drops if you're playing Beast. But you know what? Why are you even playing Beast against Mech anyways?
Oh, okay. What makes it that imbalanced? Like, we were talking about the Ballista against dragons, and then you just like threw your hands up and like, honestly, you know what? The whole matchup is a wash. Like, what would you fix about it? It's clear, like, clearly the solution can't be, yeah, just don't play that race. Like, that's not a solution. It's not good for balance, right?
Okay.
That is the spiciest line I've ever heard in a little war game podcast or talk, just ever. I'm just gonna let you know right now. Go on. So what do you think is the part that's broken? What would you fix? Like, the floor is yours.
Okay. I mean, of course, repair. I mean, okay. If not anything else, fix the target priority for like the target priority. Okay, fixing the target priority for repairing workers so that they are equal to attacking units
Okay.
would do wonders for the harassment of Beast.
So I'll just explain that right quick to anyone who doesn't know what that means. So attack priority is the thing in the game that determines, hey, if there are multiple units on screen, which units or unit does or do my army units attack? And worker priority right now is different from that of army units. So let's say there's, I don't know, let's say there's like 10 wolves against one catapult and 5 workers. If the 5 workers are repairing the catapult and the catapult is firing, the wolves will keep trying to attack the catapult. They will not ever, of their own volition, try to attack the workers. Even if the workers are just repairing the thing to infinity hit points at an extremely efficient rate. The wolves will never attack. Changing attack priority to be the same, which is what you're getting at, right? Would be, hey, if they see the workers and the catapult, they attack whichever one they see.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad I explained that somewhat well. So you're saying change it all the time, or just change it when they're repairing, or what do you think?
Change it when they're repairing. Yeah, cause like, wait. Okay. I think change it while they're repairing, but I think hold position is okay. So hold position is something else where like if you hold position your units and there's like another attack and there's like an attacking unit like behind them, they'll just like your units will not target the hold position unit.
Yeah.
And I think it's fine. Like I've been doing hold position micro forever, and I mean I think that's a perfectly reasonable part of the game. But
for anyone very quickly wants to try that, like just get an enemy soldier to try and attack a tower. Like get a bunch of workers, surround one of your watchtowers, and press the H key, and then watch a soldier and just tell it to attack move. It will never ever attack the watchtower because it can't find a path to it because the workers are blocking it. So you're fine with that because I assume that's because why? Well, I'll just ask. Why are you fine with that and not attack priority being what it is right now? Like, what's the difference to you?
Because I feel like hold position is something that's been accepted in the game, and it's not. It's definitely it's different in that it's equal throughout all 3 factions. You're not gonna use hold position when you're you're not gonna use hold position as racks when you're doing like a racks push, like because you won't have workers with you. You just won't have workers to hold position with you unless you're either defending or you're mech. So, like, and so hold position. You will never use hold position when you're attacking and when you're okay. You can use hold position for all 3 bases, but you can only use repair. You can only use the repair trick for mech.
Right, because the workers can't repair the biological units of racks or beasts, right? Do you think that would be enough? Like, if you just change the attack priority, do you think that would be enough to ameliorate some of the concerns or all of the concerns that Beast has against Mech?
I think probably not. Well, that doesn't. I think it would be. Well. I mean,
it would be worth testing. Is the thing that I get. I guess that would be my perspective. It doesn't have to be yours. Would be, yeah. I don't know if that would change the dynamic enough. Test it and find out.
Okay, I think that's my. I think if that was I think if that change was made and that was the only change that was made, I would not complain.
Okay.
I think I honestly I don't think it's. I mean, I don't really think it's a broken it's really a broken matchup. I mean, if there's people claiming that Mech is broken, and there's people claiming that Beast is broken, I think that's better than everyone. I think that's a sign. That's at least some sort of sign that the matchup is not broken. If
Okay,
that
it's
makes sense.
the idea that people can argue one side or the other, right? Like if
Yeah.
okay, and it's not just that someone can do it, because obviously, like, one way to tell if something would broken would be like, if a person who's not if a person who's not very good is stomping someone who is amazing in other matchups just because they took the strong side of the matchup, then that would be one thing. But if people explain that it's broken on both sides, then, like you said, maybe it's not as bad as it seems to be. So
Yeah.
you have expressed that you kind of have to play a patient game against Rax, and then against Mech, like maybe Repair has too large of an influence or makes things kind of outlandishly difficult compared to effort required. I mean, that must mean that Beast versus Beast is your favorite matchup then. You must love this. Like, it must be great.
Honestly, I don't.
Okay, all right. So HeroOfAges matchup chart. Yeah, BvR, you can win, but it'll take time. BvMech, like, yeah, good luck with that. And Beast versus Beast, oh, that's the good one, is it? Not actually. Come on. What do you think about Beast versus Beast? It's a mirror match. It can't be, nothing's overpowered in a mirror match, right?
Well, I mean, no. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, so
No, explain. Like that's thought provoking. That's interesting. Like what do you mean?
I mean, sure. Like, there's nothing there's no. It's not inherently like one is better than the other. One person is better than the other, but there's definitely limits in this. Oh, I don't want to say that because honestly, I haven't played. I literally haven't played Beast versus
Okay, so
in.
you just don't see many people play it anymore. Like, are you just one of the few Beast people that sticks around, or what's your sense of it?
Yeah. So what happened is, yeah, I am one of the few Beast people that sticks around, and then whenever I find someone else that plays Beast, neither of us ever actually ends up playing Beast. Um,
Oh, so you both see Beast versus Beast, and then one of you decides to play Rax or something like that.
well, it's not quite like people just hate the matchup. It's more like um, it's more like I don't know, like one of us just wants to play something else, um, like I think like I was playing against like Verks the other day,
Okay.
and like we just played like a solid like 4 or 5 games, just doing like Mech versus like Beast Mech, and like I feel like I I feel like when it's not. I feel like that sort of thing isn't like as like entirely competitive and more about like experimenting and like um okay I think we would definitely have Beast versus Beast and a lot of Beast versus Beast if they were like super like it's not like tournaments or we were like practicing explicitly for tournaments, but but I feel like right now is for me a time to experiment with new things and like play a lot of different like yeah just experiment with new things in like where there's no pressure to practice and practice the one thing and get it right.
Yeah,
You
you
know?
can have fun. Like, for instance, I saw a replay between Hobo and Norm recently, where one of the players went Archer Catapult. Like, I remember the tournaments in April, and I remember some of the monthlies that we used to have. The last time I saw Archer Catapult, it wasn't in Rax versus Rax, and it definitely wasn't in 2019 or even 2018 or 17. So I guess what you're saying there is maybe because there aren't major tournaments yet or a huge grind towards ranked, people don't feel compelled to play the most optimally, and that's not a bad thing. They're just having fun. They're approaching matchups in different ways or unique ways. Do you think that'll change once tournaments come back in any meaningful way, or what's your sense of it?
I think people will try to solidify their strategies more, but I think the strategies that we've developed, so at least some of them will stay. Because I feel like um, people have had success, have definitely been having success with um, like hybrid strategies, and I think there's I do see a lot of potential for that, potential in that, like it like in hybrid, like catapult. I feel like they're just really strong support units in different matchups, and we didn't see that. We didn't really see that in competitive tournaments before, but um, I think in the future we will see catapults in say like beast and or like we will see catapults played with beast and in different matchups, and I think there's a lot of stuff that we haven't tapped yet, that we haven't tried yet, um, that is that's tied to hybrid hybrid styles that I feel like can become like really powerful strategies.
Okay. I remember a couple of years ago, for instance, I saw one of the first games I ever saw of Yummy Blah Blah, if you remember or know of that name, was he was playing Wolf Archer. I've also seen people do Soldier Gatling Gun or Wolf Gatling Gun, because up until the point that you have upgrades for attack and for attack and armor, or for damage and armor, if there are no upgrades, I guess there's technically nothing wrong with intermingling. If I had to speculate, and you let me know what you think, I would speculate that a lot of people come from RTSs where there are defined factions. Like you pick before the start of the game what your faction is, and they will never meet up with one another. Like if we were to have three separate factions or three separate races in Little Wargame that you chose on a selection screen, yeah, you would never be able to play with catapults and wolves in the same game. You would just not be allowed to do it. But because we can, maybe people aren't accustomed to that or haven't taken that on board seriously.
Yeah, yeah, I think that makes sense to me too. Yeah.
So with that, we've gone over all three of your matchups from the one that eventually you win to the one that may be broken and you'd like to see change to the one that you don't get to play as much as you perhaps like. But I think that's covered the gamut of beast, and you even touched into hybrid strategies there at the end, which I frankly had not considered. Do you have any final thoughts or any final topics that you want to reach that perhaps we haven't covered?
Mech versus Rax.
Okay, all right, let's do it. So, because I did this in the introduction and I mentioned it, but I had even forgotten about it myself. Which is yes, when I first started playing with you, you played Beast, but eventually you got to a point where I started seeing you play Rax. I was like, oh, I guess I'm playing Rax versus Rax against this now. So yeah, go on. What is your opinion of the Rax versus Mech matchup?
Okay, Rax versus. Okay, I really feel like Rax versus Mech is a very different matchup than Rax than Beast versus Mech. Because okay, so it's kind of this. It's kind of the same where you want to slow. I feel like the Mech, because okay, here's the thing, right? So in Beast versus Mech, like your main goal is to prevent that push, to prevent that inevitable super death push, where he just walks across the map and just destroys you. But in Rax versus Mech, you don't have that because I mean, honestly, the like you just cannot do that as Mech because you just get destroyed by mages. I mean, mages, mages, mages. mages.
A slow field fodder
And,
ball, like if you've ever watched 50 supply of catapults just be incinerated as a dust mote on the ground, yeah, that is a sight to behold. You don't want to walk into that.
yeah, it's it's yeah. I mean, like I remember Norm was saying, um, like um, Mech is beginner friendly because in Mech versus Vax because you can walk across the map and you really you just can't do that and then okay so the over okay so the late game army is better in my opinion. um maybe there's something with Gatling guns but like or like caltrops or whatever that could be done. But honestly, I don't think that would change things much. I think like still mass mage versus mech, just wonderful. Um, but and here's the thing, right? You don't even like mages aren't the only thing. Like almost every Vax unit available is extremely good against mech. Like um,
I think the
early
only
game,
exception would be the archer, right? Or do you think even that's good?
the archer. Yeah, the only exception is the archer, and even then, the archer is not terrible. Like the archer can deal with like gyros and Gats pretty well. I mean, but yeah, it's definitely not as strong as like say the soldier, right? Like the soldier, like if you have like soldier drops as Vax versus Mech, I mean, those like I mean you can probably just win the game with soldier drops. I mean,
I've watched many a game of Dragon Archer Z and Slammer 4 going back at it in that exact matchup, where that is pretty much what happened. Like, it wasn't, they're both good players, so it wasn't, well, first 5 soldiers landed on a catapult, that's the end of the game. But it's more like, yeah, this is an abusable thing that you can just keep doing.
yeah, I mean, like mech units are slower than are slower than Max units, and well, actually, no, that's not entirely true.
Okay.
Gyros can do something about that, but even then, I mean, gyros aren't going to, but gyros aren't going to catch every airship, and then they just can't kill soldiers, unless you have like a yeah, they just can't kill soldiers. Um, so like if you drop like say two full airships in like their third, and their army is out of position, then like that third's just dead. Um, and then or like even in the main, like the main's even worse because like I mean, you're always going to be out of position for the main. Um, so yeah, I feel
Especially if
like
you're trying to
Soldier
do
Box.
this Doom push you're talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I remember there's, um, and then once and then once your like third say is taken out, then like from there like I mean from there Rax can just like expand a ton and like literally like you can probably win the like you have multiple options for victory that are really good. um and like I remember yeah okay and then going back to like the early game, right? So the early game, one of the strongest things about mech is like that like um the two base pushes that they have, and
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that can be completely negated by raiders, and or not like not raiders alone, but like raiders and like a smattering of other Brax units like archers deal with gyros.
Wait,
But
why Raiders? What specifically about Raiders makes them good in that context?
right, so raiders are fast. They can blink on top of like gats. Okay, let's say you have like let's say it's like mech versus beast. So the reason why mech the reason why the mech push is so strong is not only because of it's because of workers, which can repair like the gats and well, like yeah, it's because of like it's definitely because of workers which can repair like the gats and the gyros and like every unit that they have, and
Okay.
like the gats will like kite back against wolves, and then um and there's like catapults too, and those are like and those will just kill wolves. Um, but like for raiders, like four raiders one shot a Gatling gun, and
Oh, so
then
they just jump on top, and it doesn't matter that there are workers there to repair, because
yeah,
it's just gone. It's just deleted. Because for anyone who's not familiar with fighting against raiders, they have a very large delay on their hit, but they do a bunch of it. They do a bunch of damage. They do like 54 or 51 damage, something like that. Just, just there. It's just done. It just pokes something, and it takes a bunch of damage.
yeah, and then it can even like three and then three raiders one shot a worker, and then I think like five raiders or something like that one shot a catapult. So if you have a decent amount of raiders and you get a surround, like they can't even kite back because you can just jump on them, and you can get surrounds pretty. You can get surrounds like fairly easily with like your flash ability, and then and then like and then gyros, right? Like gyros are pretty good against like beasts because they have like the snake, which is just really crappy against air, and they have so they have to get ballista. But for gyros, for racks, you can just get like a few archers and you'll be fine. As long as they don't have too many workers underneath. But that's fine because you have raiders. Um,
So
so
you wouldn't say, instead of saying, yeah, Mech can just make a ball and it's fine, it's like, hey, what can't Rax make and be fine? Like, just make a little bit of whatever you feel like. In fact, most strategies that I've seen that, like, I know Hobo is experiencing or experimenting with this in the team league. If you're Rax, you can just make your own catapults. They synergize well with Rax units.
yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, you can definitely do that, and then well, against hmm, yeah, and then catapults are really good against catapults with with nothing to tank for them. So
Oh, okay.
so I did it. I experienced. Wait, actually, did I experience this? Maybe I didn't experience this, but I wait. I'm trying to remember. Um, I okay. Catapults are just really good against catapults, right?
Yeah.
So it logically follows that if you have something to tank for them, then they're better than just straight up catapult, right? Okay. So basically, yeah. So actually, but you probably don't even need catapults, honestly. Um, but yeah, I guess you could do that. That is a possibility that you could do, and that's the point that you're trying to make, right? Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Like if you're Rax, my point is that you have quite you take the other position. It's not what can you do. It's what can't you do. Like what would you like to do? How would you like to win? There are so many ways that you can try it. And you think, does that mean the Mech player is the one who has to be on their toes in the matchup?
yes. Um, I think yeah. Wait, on their toes? Yeah.
I mean, I'll just put something I saw in the Discord in perspective. AC said, I think it was yesterday, he said that basically that he disagrees and that Mech is harder to play at higher levels. Like they have the harder side of the matchup. Now, I may be misquoting him because I'm not looking at Discord right now. But would you say that as well, or would you take a different way of looking at it?
um, I think mech is harder to play. Period.
Okay, all right.
Um, mech is just mech is just different, you know? Like mech is like it's just like
It
it's
rewards
just
different skills, I would say. Like especially if you're used to Beast, where your APM is directly rewarded because you get to see more of the map and control more of your units and make more units and have bigger supply. Like, I think one point that Norm was making is, yeah, learning positioning isn't as hard as getting to high APM, but I don't know. Like, I've seen plenty of people with great hand speed and coordination in APM, and their positioning is not great. And I've seen plenty of people whose positioning is fantastic. They just don't have enough stuff. Yeah, so I would agree. Like, Mech just feels different. It's not Beast and it's not Rax.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know about like the APM thing, because like, I mean, the APM for Beast is mostly okay. Actually, no. Well, the APM for Beast is simple. Like, like for macro, you just like spam Q, or you can spam Q and W together, or E2.
Okay.
But for micro, it's very simple. You just like move stuff back, try to get surrounds, stuff like that. But for mech, it's weird. It's like I don't know. Like I mean, you gotta deal with workers. You gotta deal with like five kinds of units. Whereas with beast, you don't have many spell. You don't have any spell. You usually don't have any spellcasters. So, or at least not many. Um, but and most of your units just do the same thing, right? Like werewolf and wolf, like and snake, they're all like the kind of like A move units, or I mean, you don't have to A move them, but they're all the kind of
Your point
units
is
where
they might not have the most nuance between them. Like, they're more similar than they are different in how you control them, is your point. Like, yes, there are optimal ways to control wolves that are different than a werewolf, but it's not the difference between, I don't know, a gyrocraft and a Gatling gun and a catapult.
yeah, that yeah, every single mech unit operates differently, and I think that's also I think that's what makes it hard, right? Like that's like it's it's just different. It's like yeah, it's it's just it's just that it's the armies are just harder to mic up. Unless you're going for a giant like Rynus ball. Well,
I think this video is going to just make the word Rynus ball just appear in the minds of people for years to come. Help! I can't wake up. What is it? The Rynus ball has come. Yeah, so I personally, the thing I like about Mech is that it does reward skill in very interesting and different ways. Like, I remember when catapults did two-shot workers, and you saw people practice their airship and target fire catapult micro. That was ridiculous. Like, there were people who were spending 130, 150 actions a minute, mostly controlling catapult. Like, they would drop things out of an airship and have the catapults on a hotkey so that they could manually target the first shot of a catapult as it left the airship. Like, that's just for 2 units. That's for just 2 units. Like, there's like 2 catapults in an airship. That's it. So
yeah.
I definitely agree with your point. If I were to insert myself a little bit, I think I'm curious to see what happens when tournaments and more events and more players come in. What happens specifically with Gatling guns? Like, I feel like the potential of that. If there's a single unit that didn't have its potential realized, it's probably that unit. What is there any? You said there are many areas that you feel are underexplored due to tournaments and just the way that ranked was split off from the base game, or perhaps from just people haven't drummed up the interest, or there's not a sufficiently wide skill base among actively playing, seriously playing individuals. What do you think is the most underexplored area of Little Wargame? Like, if you want to you're teaching a new person, you're trying to get them their edge, and they say, Mr. Hero of Ages, I am looking for your wisdom. What should I look for? What would you tell them?
Ooh. I mean, I think the most I think the most underexplored area is def for me it's like hybrid comps, but I
Oh,
think one of the most I think something that was explored for a time but pretty underutilized utilized was like grabbing the idea of basics before workers. Like remember that thing where like the thing where um AC found this thing where you basically go to like 13 workers or something like that, and then you stop worker production and get a third.
yeah, you would cut. This is something that people use in other real-time strategy games in certain builds. Usually as all-ins, but not always, where they're like, okay, we're just gonna not make workers at this point to save some money so that we can do A, B, and C.
Yeah, and the reason why AC would do that, I think, is because in Middle War Game, each the more workers on one mine, the less efficient it is. So if you spread out your workers over more mines, then it's more efficient than building more workers on a single mine, right? So um, so I think I remember there was a time where people would there was a short period where people would just get a bunch of bases, like get like 5 bases. Like I remember Hook picked
Yeah,
Hook picked.
yeah,
Um,
I remember him.
but like, yeah, but before that, before a certain point, like I would just destroy him every game. But then there was one game, and probably after that too. I don't think I played him very much after that. But there's one game I remember where he just completely destroyed me because he just got up like a bunch of bases without producing that many workers, and then he still had more income because of like the worker efficiency, and then he could produce workers from there, and he could produce units from there, and then he just got us like this massive lead.